Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, Baruchim Habayim, delighted to welcome all of you here this Shabbat Eve, those of you who are joining us here in our sacred space, in our sanctuary, and those of you joining us during this sacred time on our various platforms. For those of you joining us virtually, remotely, you'll find the words on the screens for most of the service also. For those of you who are here, you can kind of follow along in the service. You'll find the service bulletins in front of you. We're also delighted to welcome our cantor back from Israel, along with Deborah and the other folks of our congregation and the rest of the folks from Wisconsin who made up Team Wisconsin in the Chazon JNF Arava bike ride from Jerusalem to Eilat. Of course, we're honored to do this service on Veterans Day in honor of our veterans. And so we begin our service with the singing of Shalom Aleichem, peace be to you, O ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Shalom Aleichem, you'll find it either on page 142 or 627, or the words before you on the screens.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Tzechem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch
As we turn back to pages 120 through 123 for Ben Schlicht and Kiddush, as we turn to the Rappaports to lead us.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehalit ner shel Shabbat.
And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabat kosho v'yahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshi ki hu yom techila l'mikrae kodesh זכר לציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ויותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
As Richard and Kurt now lead us, you'll find it on page 120, page 124.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. As we continue welcoming Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. Page 138.
As Jim leads us on page 145 and then 144.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even in unlikely times and through unlikely places, There is no place on earth without the presence.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכנו ויומכנו חיידך בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעולמי עמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שם מאיר קודשם בריחו לעילם מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
Baruch atah Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokhma poteach she'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. על חי וחיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה. ואהבתך תשרים ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל
continue together on page 154. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו תותפות בין עיניך, ופתחתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, היכם קדושים אלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיהם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We continue on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining together, marching hands.
Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu. שומרנו לחיים.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporeis sukat shalom aleinu, va'akol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagimor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imachot ומביא גאולה לבניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד, בחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
As Werner continues leading us on page 173.
This is my moment.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are a God whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'udecha levadcha b'riah na'avod.
God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, ato shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lahodos. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Shalom bimroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma v'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
In the week to come, among those couples who will be observing their wedding anniversaries, are Rabbi Jessica and Michael Borowski, Carrie and Susie Silverstein, and Eileen and Jonathan Weedy. Our God and God of the generations before us, we thank you for our sacred heritage of marriage and family life. Throughout history, marriage has been the firm foundation to our people, when we were driven from place to place and when we were at rest and settled. We praise you, O God, for sanctifying your people Israel by the covenant of marriage. We thank you for the fullness of joy of those who are celebrating the anniversary of their wedding in this season. Their lives are blessed with the gift of loving comradeship and of devotion to each other. Their joys are heightened, their difficulties lightened as they face life together. May their companionship continue to bring them strength. May their home be hallowed by your divine guidance. May their lives continue to be enriched by affection and mutual respect. May they be blessed with peace and health and contentment. As together we all say, Amen. As we continue in our Sidurim on page 371, and eventually the words will also appear before you on the screens. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu Avram, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah, hu yivarech et hakolim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those of our friends who are ill. Debbie Alpert, Craig Anseer, Jason Arnold, Yaakov David, Ben Fredel Esu, Vinyamin, Blake Bold, Mark Brickman, Dennis Burke, Bruce Butterfield, Linda Chudnow, DeWitt Clinton, Mike DeWald, Fred Dichter, Phyllis Dorff, Michelle Eike, Riva Falk, Michael Favreau, Fred Feinstein, Barry Foreman, Mimi Habish, Hank Getzinger, Beth Gobich Harris, Ilana Himmelfarb, Tzipri Bat-Kalman, Louise Sandler Kaufman, Jimmy Kaplan, Evelyn Lager, Bob Lauterbach, Ken Lauterbach, Jet Lebrecht, Cece Levin, Ellen Levin, Lloyd Levine, Ron Levin, Kathy Liddell, Richard Linkle, Bill Lizering, Wendy Mayer, Zavi Ram, Robert Gold-Kravitz, Artie Majeski, Richard Moskowitz, Jeff Peck, Gail Sessner Peterson, Neil Spiro, Kathy Polzian, Eileen Rittberg, Lippman Pinchas Ben Libu Umendel, Susan Schenk, Batya Bat Libu Moshe, Reuven Herzl Ben Devorah Varav Schneer Zalman HaKohen, Marty Stein, Chase Strict, Laura Sussman, Michael Tableson, Kenneth Waltz, Jim Wilkinson, Tom Wilkinson, Rebecca Zuckerman, Shoshana Bat Harav Ari V'Shoshana, Chaim Moshe Halevi ben Leah, Avraham Yosef ben Rachel u'Menachem, Leah bat Chaiki u'Mordechai, Eliezer ben Hindaleah v'Avraham Moshe, Ruth bat Chanav Aryeh Kohen, Leah bat Beruri Pinchas, and to those names we add Joan Steele. Gary. Robert Mistal, Bel-Ann. Rachel Dowd, Edie. Jeannie Vergettis, Barbara and Al Sharinsky, Jim. David Lawn. Barbara. Allison Appel. And for those of you joining us on Zoom, if you raise your hand virtually or visually, Alan.
Lisa Turner.
Lisa Turner. Because we are praying on their behalf. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored, their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them complete renewal of spirit and of body. May God grant wisdom and insight to those who bring healing. And may God grant courage and comfort to those whose struggles continue. As together we all say, Amen.
Amen. Sheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of spirit, the renewal of body, and let us say Amen.
So Haley, can you just tell me what Torah portion you are reading from tomorrow morning as you celebrate becoming bat mitzvah? Did any of you hear her? It's a little better. One more try, as loud as you can, Haley. She's reading from Naso. Now that's not this week's Torah portion, which is what I'm going to talk about. She's reading from Naso because we had postponed celebrating her bat mitzvah because of some illness. So we are thrilled to be able to celebrate it with you tomorrow. So if you want to learn more about Naso, I invite you to join us at our Shabbat morning service tomorrow as we celebrate with Haley and her family, and you'll hear her very interesting and profound Dvar Torah and be able to hear her chant these verses. But tonight, I want you to think of the most famous quality associated with Abraham. Talked about this last week. Anybody remember? I heard somebody say it back there. Someone just said it. No one wants to admit that they just even gave me the right answer. Someone said his hospitality. Okay? He greets everyone with an open tent, open heart, open hands. He feeds them, shelters them, waters their animal, washes their feet. Perhaps because he's become himself a traveler, one who becomes the other, that he learns of the importance of welcoming friends and strangers on the way. Abraham is joined on this journey in his hospitality by Sarah. In fact, as we read in this week's Torah portion, which is entitled Vayera, Abraham even leaves the presence of God when he sees travelers in the distance to offer them hospitality. And we find in the Talmud these words, hospitality is greater than a visit to the house of study. It is greater than welcoming the Shekhinah, which is God's presence. Yet in this week's portion, we also encounter the exact opposite, the inhospitable residents of Sodom. The Midrash tells us that the Sodomites said to each other, We live in peace and plenty. Food can be gotten from our land. Gold and silver can be mined from our land. What need have we to look after others who come to us only to deprive us? Come, let us see to that duty of entertaining travelers. Let that be forgotten in our land. In fact, according to the Malbim, who was a 10th century commentator, it was against the law to help anyone, and if one did, one would be put to death. So, the story. Those same men who Abraham rushed out to welcome were now arriving in Sodom. Seeing them, Abraham's nephew Lot rushed out to greet them just as his uncle had taught him. And now the text continues in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 19. I'm going to begin in verse 2, and if you want to follow along in the Chumashim, you'll find it beginning on page 126. The Chumashim are the larger black books, which you'll find in pockets either in the chair in front of you, if you're in a front row, maybe in the shelf right below you, or if you want to reach behind you, maybe you'll find it behind you in that pocket. Again, page 126. So he said, Lot did, "Come now, my lords, turn to your servant's house. Stay there overnight and wash your feet. When you get up, you can go on your way." No, they said, "We'll stay the night in the open." He so pressed them, however, that they followed him and entered his house, where he made them a festive meal, baked unleavened bread, and they ate. They had yet to lie down when the townspeople, the people of Sodom, young and old alike, all the people from every side gathered around the house and called to Lot, saying, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out so we can have them." Lot went out to them at the entrance and shut the door behind him. He said, "Please, brothers, do not do evil. Look," and I don't want to spend a lot of time on these verses. They're almost as troubling, if not more so. "I have 2 daughters who have never been intimate with a man. Let me bring them out for you and do to them as you please. But do nothing to these men, for they have come into the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Get out of the way." And they said, "This fellow, Lot, comes here to stay for a while, and now he wants to act the judge. Well, we will make it worse for you than for them." They pressed the man Lot hard as they advanced to break down the door. But the men reached out and pulled Lot toward them into the house and shut the door, striking every one of the men, large and small, who were near the entrance of the house with a blinding light, so they were unable to find the entrance. The men said to Lot, "Whoever is still with you, here, your son-in-law, your sons and daughters, all your property in the city, get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Eternal against the people in it is so great that the Eternal has sent us to destroy it." There were not even 10 righteous people in the city. And this is what sodomy was to the ancient rabbis. Not anything about a sexual act, but about avarice and selfishness and inhospitality and the end of freedom. Abraham and Sarah's journey, our journeys, are not about how many toys that they or we will accumulate, nor about how many servants may be at one's beck and call, and not about how we have hoarded everything for ourselves. The journey should be about blessings. And the greatest blessing of all, as I talked last week, you shall be a blessing, a source of blessing to others. At our best, such is what the United States of America can and should be about, bringing blessing to so many here in our land and in lands all around the world. The blessings of plenty and generosity, the blessings of safety and hospitality, the blessings of freedom and of peace. And so tonight, this Shabbat on Veterans Day, as Jews and as Americans, we give thanks to those who have given so much in their service to this land of ours, to those who have protected our freedom to truly give thanks and to be a blessing to our veterans. And so to introduce our speaker tonight, I want to turn to the president of our brotherhood, to Robert Jacob, to introduce him.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight in this very cold weather, and welcome to the Veterans Shabbat service. Our guest speaker tonight is Jeremy Otto, Veterans Program Specialist at the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs. The topic that Jeremy will be addressing is benefits, programs, and services for our Wisconsin veterans and their families. A question and answer session will follow. The mission of the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs is to work on behalf of Wisconsin's veterans, their families, and their survivors in recognition of their service and sacrifice to our state and our nation. Jeremy Otto, who served in the U.S. Army for 7 years, will speak on how the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs fulfills this mission. I would like to thank the Veterans Shabbat Committee members of the Brotherhood. Those individuals are Gary Engel, the chairperson, Mark Holland, and Bruce Resnick. Please welcome Jeremy Otto.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. He said, I served in the Army for 7 years. I served in Texas, Alaska, and Iraq. Iraq was by far the best of all of them. Just kidding. Alaska was great. Texas, See if I can get this thing rolling here. All right, so yeah, I work in the communications department. So it's my job to kind of come out and market our different products and services that we offer to Wisconsin veterans. Back up. So these folks here, if you guys do call my office, you're going to speak to these folks. Unfortunately, they have to stay in the office, answer phone calls, and do emails while I do all the fun stuff. But these are the folks that are the pros. We call them our Veterans Benefits Resource Center. And they're the ones that will walk you through any of these programs you may be interested in. So there's two basic criteria of eligibility for our products and services: military service and Wisconsin state residency. Generally, if you served any time on active duty and you're a Wisconsin resident, you'll qualify for most of them. So if you want to get in contact with us, we have a website, wisvets.com, which has a live chat feature that you can talk to someone live. Our number is 1-800-WISVETS, and our email, wisvets@dvawisconsin.gov. We also have a portal, so if you want to upload any documents digitally, you can upload documents and it'll kind of make the process a little easier. And you can also apply for some of the benefits online. You can check the current status and find out what programs you qualify for. So I'll jump right into it. One of our most popular benefits is the Wisconsin GI Bill. It's similar to the federal GI Bill, except you have to use it at an institution in Wisconsin, up to 128 credits or 8 semesters. And there's no income limits, no delimiting period of study, and no limits on level of study. So if you already have a master's degree, you can still use this to get a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree. And to qualify for this, you need to be a resident at the time of entry in the service or have lived in Wisconsin for 5 consecutive years. Also with the Wisconsin GI Bill, if the veteran has a service-connected disability rating of at least 30%, they can pass on the Wisconsin GI Bill to their children or their spouse. The children must use the benefit before they turn 26. Next, I'll talk about our Veterans Employment Grant. In order to incentivize hiring veterans, we will offer $5,000 to any employer who hires a veteran who is 50% service-connected or more. If it's a part-time veteran, the amount will be $2,500, and it'll go over at the end of the 12-month period. The employer can apply for this. We also have a nonprofit grant. We give $250,000 out every year to nonprofits, a maximum of $25,000. We've given it to the Center of Veterans Issues here in Milwaukee. Also, the War Memorial Center has been beneficiaries of our nonprofit grants. We have a Assistance to Needy Veterans Grant. This is for those veterans who maybe need some dental care, hearing, vision, and just in general some money to if they're going through some problems. We also offer an entrepreneurship grant. This one is fairly new. So this one is available to nonprofits that provide training, technical, business, or other assistance to veteran entrepreneurs. We've given this many times to the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce, which is headquartered right here in Milwaukee. We've given it to UW Milwaukee, Dry Hooch. A couple years ago, we gave it to the Veterans Incubator at Fox Valley Technical College, and we give out a total of $400,000 each year for that. We also offer a veteran's property tax credit. So if a veteran has a service rating of 100%, they can apply for this tax credit, and they'll get a full property tax credit on a primary residence up to 1 acre. And also with this, if the veteran passes away, his spouse can continue to receive this property tax credit as long as he or she doesn't remarry. Next, I'll talk about our Veterans Outreach and Recovery Program. This is our program that works with homeless or at-risk veterans throughout the state. We call it VORP. We provide assistance in having a stable, safe place to live, assistance finding motivation to change the behavior, and assistance overcoming mental health and or substance abuse issues. Essentially, our VORP personnel are caseworkers and help the veteran navigate anything out there that can help them. We're across the entire state. We have 11 regions, and every region has a VORP person that we can refer a veteran to, or if you know someone struggling, you can look up your VORP rep and they'll help them out. We also have a housing and recovery program. It's very similar to our VORP program, except we can provide housing to the veteran. We provide permanent housing, employment assistance, education, job training, mental health services, substance abuse, and support claims and benefit assistance. The veteran can be housed for up to 24 months. However, most complete the program in 6 to 10. And we also offer 3 veterans homes in the state that provide the comprehensive nursing from assisted living to skilled nursing. We have 3 in the state, King, Wisconsin, Union Grove, which is just south of here, and Chippewa Falls, which is over by Eau Claire. Medical services, amenities, doctor visits, dental services, transportation, therapy, pharmacy, physical therapy, respiratory therapy, speech therapy, x-ray. These are just a few. If you guys are interested at all in any of these homes, I do have brochures. I suggest you contact them directly, and they can really kind of get in the weeds with you on any questions you have. Our home at King is the largest of the 3. It's 320 acres, 700 members. They have daily fishing charters in the summer, a bowling alley, and a pub. If you haven't visited this place, I highly suggest it. It's more of a college campus as opposed to a retirement home. All the different buildings are connected with an underground tunnel that will shuttle you back and forth. Our next one is at Union Grove. It's the middle one, 148 rooms. This one has a wood shop, gardening club, therapeutic art, vocal, and bell choir. And our last one's up at Chippewa Falls. It's our smallest of the 3 facilities with 72 beds. And this one actually is the one that we have a waiting list on. However, if you do want to use this home and there is a waiting list, you can be housed at King or Union Grove while this opens up. Currently, I'm told this one has a 300-person waiting list. And each veteran's home has a cemetery as well. And getting in that little bit here. Come on. The mission statement: provide a final resting place for veterans, create a lasting monument to their achievements and sacrifices on behalf of a grateful nation. If you do want to get out and do any volunteer work, we do Wreaths Across America December 17th at all our cemeteries. And also on September 11th, we do a day of service if you want to volunteer. So the cemetery will provide the space. There's no pre-selection. We'll provide the liner and a marker, and there's different markers: upright granite for casket, upright granite for cremated remains. We also have a columbarium for cremated remains, and we also have a scatter garden. As far as eco-conscious, we don't have, I thought personally that the eco-conscious was a scattering of the garden or a scattering of the ashes, but I was informed that you still got to use the energy to create the remains. So we don't have any full eco options, but I'm sure we will in the future. We encourage, if you do want to take advantage of the cemetery, we encourage you to pre-register. It's just going to make it a lot easier, and you can do this online through the website I talked to before, wisvets.com. And we also provide funeral honors. Everyone who's buried in our cemetery will receive full funeral honors. However, if a veteran is buried in any cemetery, we will travel across the state and provide the honors for that veteran. Typically, the local VSOs, American Legion, VFW, they do the honors, and we provide that group with a $50 stipend to cover any expenses. We also offer claims assistance at the Milwaukee VA Zablocki. It's on the bottom floor, so if you would like to file any disability claim, they're there. You can stop in there and talk to them. We also have the Veterans Museum in Madison. If any of you have been there, it's right at the top of State Street. It's free. Driving in downtown Madison can be a headache, but if you live in this area, you're probably used to driving headaches, but there are some parking lots right there. Free admission. If you guys are ever in town, I definitely suggest you check it out. Any questions at all about anything I mentioned? And also, I do have brochures that'll cover essentially everything I talked about. So if you would like one, just come see me. And also, I guess I want to say too, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but every county in the state has what is called a county veteran service officer. So if you do ever have questions, there's one in every county, and if you look them up, they're as well versed in all these programs as well as federal programs. So I always say they're kind of our first line of defense. Milwaukee County, his name is Rick Flowers. He's a great guy. If you guys ever have any more questions and you kind of want to get in the dirt with some of these, but does anybody have any questions about what I went over? Go ahead, Gary.
Jeremy, a little bit off course. What are the major differences between federal benefits and Wisconsin benefits?
And I'm going to, because we're streaming and other platforms,
Sure.
if you could kind of repeat his question.
Okay, yeah, sure. So Gary asked, what's the difference between state benefits versus federal benefits? So state benefits are only meant for Wisconsin residents. So all of our tax money comes from the Wisconsin taxpayers, so we can only give our benefits to Wisconsin residents, as opposed to the federal VA, which gets federal tax dollars, so they can provide with, you know, they don't have to be state specific, but since we're a state organization, we can only provide to Wisconsin residents. The biggest difference is we don't offer any medical services. The federal VA has hospitals and stuff of that nature. We don't operate any hospitals. I guess the biggest crossover would be the federal GI Bill, and we have almost the identical thing for Wisconsin specifically. But the biggest thing is the federal VA has the hospitals and we don't. We have the retirement homes, but the federal VA also has the retirement homes. There's one in Toma, but that's probably the biggest difference. Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, I do. Robert, let me ask mine, and we'll call on you, Robert. So is burial in the military cemeteries here in Wisconsin limited just to Wisconsin residents?
So our cemeteries are. However, there are federal veteran cemeteries in the state. But typically, we don't run into a lot of the residency requirements because if someone isn't a resident of the state, a lot of times, typically, they don't want to be buried in Wisconsin because they're not a resident. But yes, you have to meet the residency requirement.
Okay, Robert.
I was just curious, if you apply for the federal
Mm-hmm.
benefits, are you not allowed to also apply to the Wisconsin?
No, Wisconsin benefits are in addition to. So if you use your federal GI Bill, for example, you still have a Wisconsin GI Bill. So everything, you get both. You'll get the federal and the Wisconsin GI Bill, or Wisconsin benefits.
The other question I have has to do with the homeless,
Mm-hmm.
the veterans that are homeless. How are we doing
So,
getting track onto them because they're kind of lost in the shadows.
right. So Wisconsin actually received a national award for our homeless program, our VORP. In fact, our secretary has been traveling around the state to show it to other states. So actually, as far as our homeless veterans in recovery goes, we're top of the nation. Obviously, there's always work to be done, but every year we get a little better and better. We evolve our program a little more, and as sad as it sounds, I mean, we're heading in the right direction. Our VORP reps always say, I'm working myself out of a job because if there isn't any homeless vets. But that is the ultimate goal. But I can tell you that, Wisconsin's top of the nation. Yep. Correct.
Do you know if there anything in the upcoming pipeline about expanding the facility there at Spooner?
So I don't know of any expansion at Spooner. However, we did just expand at our King location. We have a new hall there. So I don't know of any expansion at the Spooner one. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was trying to figure out, being King is our largest home and has the most amenities, I figured that would be the one that's more in demand. But I think just because of the Spooner location, you get a lot of Eau Claire that's just kind of a populous area. And I was thinking a lot of the veterans, they might just want to live in a more slower part of the state. So I don't know the exact reason why that one's so popular. But yeah, like I said too, if somebody wants to go there and they're on the waiting list, they can go to King or Union Grove until a spot opens up there. Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to do then is invite Jeremy Otto to join us after the service at the Oneg. We'll give you something to eat, but we'd also give all of you the opportunity to perhaps approach him and ask some questions that we weren't able to ask you during this time.
Sure.
And we thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
And Gary and Robert, thank you. As we continue with Aleinu, you'll find it on page 586, and together we rise. על כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו, לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי. Eternal our God, how soon we hope to behold the perfection of our world, guided by a sacred covenant drawn from human and divine meeting. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. It seems appropriate, the Shabbat before Kaddish, to read these words by a veteran of World War I, who also served our country during World War II as the Librarian of Congress. These words by Archibald MacLeish about the veterans who did not return home alive. These words will not appear before you on the screens. The young dead soldiers do not speak. Nevertheless, they are heard in the still houses. Who has not heard them? They have a silence that speaks for them at night and when the clock counts. They say, we were young, we have died, remember us. They say, we have done what we could, but until it is finished, it is not done. They say, we have given our lives, but until it is finished, no one can know what our lives gave. They say, our deaths are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make them. They say, whether our lives and our deaths were for peace and a new hope or for nothing, we cannot say. It is you who must say this. We leave you our deaths, give them their meaning. We were young, they say, we have died. Remember us. As we remember them, we also remember the names of our dear ones, and as the names of your dear ones are mentioned, we invite you to rise in their loving memory as we remember the relatives and friends of our congregation who have gone before us into life eternal. We remember tonight the names of Chelsea Rose Minkoff, Neil Boris, Catherine May Kay Zacharias, Judy Block, and Michelle Lewis, who were laid to rest recently. We remember also the names of Henrietta Abrams, Jack S. Ackerman, Jacob Beck, Pearl R. Becker, Abel D. Burkhoff, Dorothy P. Berman, Ida Berman, Paul Bomberg, Nathan Borzak, Robert Chorney, Natalie Clinton, Charles T. Cohn, Victor Elkonen, Milton B. Garner, Ethel Garish, Friedel Haas Goldschmidt, Richard Halprin, Daisy Hauser, Belle Heller, Joseph Heller, Leopold Heller, Brian Hubel, Soako Ishihara, Alan Kagan, Marie Kaufer, Sharon Keller, Lawrence Korach, Harry Kashikow, Jacob Krug, Claire Lamb, Esther Lowasser, Ray Manasseh, William Matris, Joseph Michael, Bernard J. Newman, Jenny Newman, Lillian Peck, Arthur Polachek, Francis F. Rosenbaum, Kenneth Bruce Ross, Howard B. Shapiro, Anne Ruth Scharf, Rose Shunder, Abraham Silverman, Jacob M. Simonson, Estelle Fuller Spiro, Julia Strauss, Benedict Stranad, Bertha Serlo, Ruth Traxler, Simo Waxman, and Arthur Zitron, whose anniversary of death is remembered tonight. If there are others here in mourning or observing yahrzeit, I ask you as my hand goes around to rise and mention the name or names of your dear ones. Gary Goldstein? Jerry Goldstein. And if there's anyone on Zoom who has a name to share, Alan?
John Veal, Neil Hootkin,
John
Sarah
Veal.
Feist, and Helga Lovings.
Helga Lovings, Neil Hootkin, John Veal, and Sarah Feist. Barbara. You've got to unmute, Barbara.
Robert Rosenthal.
Robert Rosenthal. We also remember those who perished in the Shoah whose yahrzeit dates are unknown to us. We pray, may their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May their repose be peace. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. As we now ask the congregation to join with those who mourn in the words of Kaddish, page 598. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah. V'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chaye chon v'yomeh chon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'yimru. Amen.
Amen.
יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה. דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen.
Amen.
May the one who makes peace in the high heavens above help us to make peace down here on earth among ourselves, all Israel, and all the world. As together we all say,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. We want to thank Amanda and Lois for being our greeters this Shabbat, as we also then turn to Lois for our announcements this Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I think I'll take this off to do this. Hello. Shabbat Shalom, and I want to welcome you to our service in honor of our veterans tonight. The first thing I want to do then is thank Jeremy. Where did you go? There you are. Thank you so much for giving us a window into the support and the acknowledgement that the state of Wisconsin gives to our veterans. And we are profoundly grateful for their service. And thank you for helping us understand what we offer. Thank you very much. I also want to say thank you to Dan Dance. Your music helps us celebrate Shabbat, and thank you so much. And our pulpit flower donors tonight were Beth and Jeff Rappaport in honor of the bat mitzvah of their daughter, Haley Madison Rappaport. Haley, we are so proud of you. Congratulations, Mazel Tov. The Bima Basket sponsors tonight were Judy and Chuck Lerner, and Sharon and Mike Grinker, and Shira and Ezra Grinker in memory of their father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, Milton B. Garner. And again, I want to personally thank Amanda, too, for partnering with me tonight as a greeter. There are so many things to list here, whether it's Temple Tots, Mahjong and Munchies, Knitting Circle, the Lox Turkey and Mediterranean Box. The name keeps getting bigger every time we offer it. I'm waiting for the Lox Turkey Mediterranean and Baskin Robbins box, but I haven't seen it yet. Anyway, there's so many things to read. Please take a look at your program, but I want to highlight two. The first one I want to highlight, well, let's say it differently. Both of them help us to immerse ourselves in Jewish values and in Jewish living. One is remote and one is local. The local one is 1 hour from here, and that's Osrui Camp. And registration just opened up for Osrui's summer camp for 2023. So this tells you a little bit about the fact that we have a campership, scholarship, so to speak, that is available and how to apply for that. But please think about that in terms of a local opportunity to help your children identify with and get grounded in their Judaism and have some fun besides. The more remote one, though, is the trip to Israel that the congregation is sponsoring. And that's March 13th to the 23rd of next year. And it is in honor of Rabbi Berkson. And also we are blessed with his leading that trip in the sense of helping put together the places that he holds dear and including those in the itinerary. And so that should be a remarkable trip. And I believe there are a couple extra places. And this also tells you a little bit about that more remote, I'd say by 3,000 miles opportunity to, again, expose yourself to and be immersed in what it is to be a Jew. So think about those. And finally, I just want to highlight that on the back, one of the items, which is the 2022 holiday gift drive. These are new goods or slightly used goods. But when I read the list of places it benefits, I was really pleased. And I'm just going to read them to you. It's Serenity Inns, Meta House, Jewish Family Services, Aurora Walker's Point Community Clinic, Pathfinders, Community Advocates Milwaukee Women's Center, and the Grand Avenue Club. So how remarkable that we can take some action here to impact organizations like that during this fourth quarter of the year, during this holiday season. So a bin is going to magically appear somewhere in the synagogue on November 20th, and please do consider stopping by and bringing things to donate. And on this cold night and the beginning of winter, and the sun seems to set at 2 in the afternoon, just kidding, I wanted to say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Let me also add, our next Adult Shabbat Chavurah is December 2nd, following our early service. If you're interested, get in touch with Belle-Ann Freund. Belle-Ann, let's see your hand so everyone knows who you are. Our closing song is Sinei Matov. You'll find it on page 644. Please rise and remain standing for the benediction.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. יאללה לה, יאללה, יאללה לה לה לה. יאללה לה, יאללה, יאללה לה. יאללה לה, יאללה, יאללה לה לה לה. יאללה לה, יאללה, יאללה לה לה. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Hinei ma tovu manayim. Behold how good it is and how pleasant when people dwell together in peace. Shevet achim bam yachad. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos.